What is going to be your legacy?
Joining us on Legacy, the family business podcast today, is Stuart Dantzic, Managing Director of Caribbean Blinds. Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about Caribbean Blinds and what you do and what your role is within the business.
So I'm now Managing Director of Caribbean Blinds. I joined the business back in 2001. I bought the business from my parents at the end of 2016. So really my role day to day is development of the business, looking at new opportunities, maximising profits, steering the company through hard times as well as good times. We manufacture all types of outdoor shading. Makes us sort of unique in our industry because most companies do interior blinds and add on the external. We're purely external shading. We started off as a family business. We were a trade supplier. We moved from offering just as a trade supplier to being a retailer as well as supplying the contract market. So we work across all sectors as well, which does as well during interesting periods.
And in terms of, we're going to pick up straight away, in terms of you bought the business, the next generation actually bought the business from the previous generation. Talk us through how that works. I know it's you and your brother actually both really together involved in what you do. Talk us through the process in terms of that transition.
Yeah, I'd say that was a tough time in the business and the relationship with my parents, because the business had got to a size for my parents where they were happy, they were satisfied. The mortgage was paid off, they were going on their holidays. My dad had his dream car. They didn't want to take the risk to grow the business. My brother and I could see the potential in the business, especially when you look over Europe, which is far, far bigger than the UK for external shading. So we saw the potential and we wanted to grow the business. And it was really that conversation that said, look, the business has this opportunity to grow and become something sizable, bigger than it is now, and move it forward. But it's not really for both generations to be in there. So it was a tough 6 to 9 months. I think we started the conversation at an exhibition, which probably wasn't the ideal time, but you have quiet periods during shows. So we sort of started this conversation, and it was really awkward because my parents weren't going to give the business to us. I don't think they were in a position to, because the business was their entire income. So we sat down and said, what have we got to do to make this work? Because I actually said, I'm going to move out of the business. It's not working for me. We'd tried the past few years where I would run the business and my parents would take a step back. But the problem was it's really hard, I guess, as the founders to take a step back and not do things the way they've been doing it and just let a new ethos come into the business. So it just didn't work. So yeah, it was a really tough 6 to 9 months. We had this conversation. I would say they overvalued the business. We undervalued the business. The company's accountants were involved to sort of broker a deal. And we brokered a deal that was fair for both sides. I would still say we paid slightly more than we wanted to, but I got to the stage where I was like, we just want the business. I want to move it forward. I want to make my parents proud, but I can't do that with them in the business. So it was really awkward, but it was a conversation that had to be had. And if I'm honest, it should have probably happened 18 months, 2 years earlier.
A lot of the community that will be listening to this will be in approaching a similar situation, I'm sure. What was, let's not talk numbers, but what was the process? What was the agreement that you agreed with your parents? Because a lot of second gen, third gen, or the next gen, I should probably say, will not have the cash. They won't be able to sit there. So they're not going to be able to buy their parents out. But like you, it's the right thing to do. And I'm sure lots of people don't want to bring in third parties into it. So what did you do in order to get the sale over the line?
So we all had shares in the business. So my brother and I at the time had 10% shares. My parents had the remaining shares. And what we'd done as a business, as the business had grown and we'd hit different milestones, my parents released some of their shares to us. So we leveraged the money from the business. So we have fundamentally done a small initial lump sum, but then yearly payments. And my parents still sit on the board. They still have 1% share each. It's a non-voting share, and they get paid every month as well. So it's an ongoing thing, almost a company pension for them on top of the buyout, which was over a 5-year period. So we agreed a period of 5 years to buy them out effectively, because we didn't have the money to literally give them the cash up front, but we leveraged the business and our shares in the business to be able to do it by refinancing the factory. In fact, so we done it that way because we didn't have the cash to do it. And my parents didn't want to let go of the business and sell it all. They wanted us to stay in the business, and I'd sort of made it clear I wouldn't stay in because it wasn't sustainable moving forward. So yeah, leverage the business, agree something that works for both sides. It's not going to be perfect, but they want the business to remain. We want to be in the business and grow it and make them proud. So there's a way to make it work. It's just sitting down around the table, get the company's accountants involved because they're the creative ones. They can work out how to make it work for both sides.
Yeah. I think you touched on something it's good and difficult in family businesses, which is in a family business, you've got everything that happens during the day, your day to day, and then the door's shut, everyone else goes home, But in a family business, that continues into the evening, it continues into the weekend. So how did you and your brother manage the dynamics of this, this bit of conflict which was going in the day-to-day, which I'm sure went into the evenings, the weekends and everything else?
Yeah, I think what I found is, because there was the both of us, if one of us was feeling the strain, the other one would take that pressure away, and vice versa. So we sort of bounced off each other, because you're right, it's not just daytime, it's evening, it's long into the evening, it's first thing in the morning, it's what you wake up thinking about, it's what you go to bed thinking about. So I think you just need to work with each other, talk to each other, take a time out sometimes, say, do you know what, we're just not going to talk about it for a week, because everyone's getting stressed, everyone's getting frustrated, and it's not helping anyone. So just take the time out, give it a week breather, give it a day breather, or go to the one who's being reasonable and chat to them. So I think just, it's hard, but because I had my brother with me, I had someone I could talk to, and then we could, if I wasn't making headway, he can make headway, or vice versa. And just try and be a bit level-headed about it. There's obviously emotions involved, because it is a family business. It's not a typical shareholder type business. It's a family business, so everyone's precious about it, protective about it, wants the right thing for it. But sometimes just take a step back, actually switch off, and that means different things for different people. For my parents, switching off means going on holiday. My brother spending time with his kids. At the time, my switching off was, I'm going to go to the gym and just unwind for 3 hours instead of an hour, and just sort of de-stress, get level-headed again.
Yeah, it works. It's very important to have that break on it all.
You and your brother have taken it on and grown the business significantly. We can come on to the growth journey you've been on, and the award-winning growth journey you've been on. But talk about the dynamic between the two, because often siblings working together, it can cause friction points. So, but you two work really well together. Explain to me how that's been structured and why that works.
I think that's happened through the years that we've worked together previously. So when I joined in 2001, my brother joined in 2003. And certainly for the first 5 years, we'd constantly argue, because we'd step on each other's toes. We hadn't really found our way in the business in terms of who was doing what. But so I think if we've worked together a long time, like we had, so we hadn't gone off and done something else, then come into the business. We both joined the business from college and school. And I think because we'd worked together so long, we'd got all of it out of the way really early on. That where you come into loggerheads, you're shouting at each other, you're fighting with each other, we're not working together. So we'd got all out of the way. So when it came to it, we actually knew what each other's strengths were. And we sat down, we were very clear, if we're going to do this, these are the rules, the roles, etc. And we've done that, and it's well, don't get me wrong, there are times when we'll have an argument now. We don't never have an argument. That's probably once every 3 months. It can be something I've done, it can be something he's done, and we normally air it out within 24 hours. But I think you need to have, not necessarily put it in writing, but have ground rules from the beginning, almost, about this is your role, this is my role, this is where we're going to come together. There's going to be a bit of crossover here. As long as you know where there is crossover, you're going to be level-headed, sensible about it. Sit down, go for a meal, have a chat about what you're going to do. It works well. I think maybe where people come into a business later on in their life journey and they haven't got that out of the way at an early stage, then it's a different scenario. But we're fortunate to have worked together pretty much all our lives from school. Even when we were growing up and popping in the summer holidays, sweeping the floor for pennies back in the day, we were still working together then. So we got it out of the way early and aired it all out earlier on in our career.
Do you think it was your parents' plan right from the word go with both of you to be involved in the business?
My dad, yes. My mum was always, go off, do whatever you want, come in the business if you want. For my dad, 100. He might say no, but 100%. He definitely wanted us both in the business. He was proud of what he's achieved, and he's achieved amazing things. So he definitely wanted us both in the business. I did go to college for a very short period. I was studying to be a lawyer. That was always what I was going to do, and possibly step back into the business at a later stage. But I remember it was the end of 2001. He said to me, he's moving from rented premises, he's going to buy a factory, he wants to grow and expand the business. And I remember sending an email to my college saying, I'm not coming back in January. He bought a premises, and then I've been there ever since.
So it was your choice.
It was my choice, and I was lured to it by money. At the end of the day, I was young. I was 17 at the time. Money meant everything to me, and it's an important factor today. Obviously, you need money to live, to do financial freedom. But that's definitely what it was. It was, I wanted to grow the business. He wanted to grow the business. He wanted me involved, and I was like, I'll take the plunge. I'll jump. I'll leave college and I'll join the business.
Were there ever any regrets in terms of making that decision?
Yeah. Definitely. I never done the whole college and uni thing in terms of parties, etc. I never got to go off and try another career. And there's bits of me now say, actually, do I want to try and learn something else and do something else? And the answer is probably yes. So I think that's my regret, not having gone off, done something else, and then come into the business, having just pretty much gone straight into the business bar the 3 months I was at college. So I've never really known anything else other than my work experience where I worked for a suit tailorers. But other than that, and that was only because my school wouldn't let me go and work for my parents for the 2 weeks work experience. But other than that, I've been involved in the business. So it has its positives. I know the ins and outs, the intricate details of the business, but I've never actually gone off and done something else and seen if I'm being good at something else or followed some passions of mine that I've wanted to do.
We've talked a lot about on the podcast about what good looks like and what success is, and whether personally people think they've achieved success. You're still quite. I mean, you and Brad are both still incredibly young, so you're on your journey. But what does success? Well, what will success look like for you?
Success for me, I was thinking about this actually in the journey up, oddly enough. Success for me used to be the next big money making thing. Actually, success for me now, as I look 8 years on from buying the business, is continuing the family name. So the name of the business and the Dantzic family name, that's success for me now. And actually now I'm thinking, well, where's the business going to be in 30 years time? Which is pretty much the time we bought the business off my parents. So success is slightly different for me now than what it used to be. It used to always be about the next product or the next idea that made some good money. Now it's actually about the business and its position in the marketplace, what people think of the business as well.
Has that changed since you've become a dad?
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Yeah. And say I've been a dad now for almost 3 years. And it's, my view and my output is definitely different now. And what I think success is, I want my kids to go, that's my dad's business. I pick my son up from nursery. He says it's Maxie's daddy. It makes me so proud, but I want to be like, that's my dad's business. That's my dad's vans driving around. That's my dad's company on TV or in an advert. That's success to me when people around me that mean something to me, that's family and friends, go, yeah, that's someone I know. That's my dad's business.
And how do you drive that internally now? How do you and brother, with this change of focus, change of purpose, how do you drive that internally?
I think a lot of it is we're open and honest with the team, much more so than my parents used to be. We have more team meetings. So this is what we're doing. This is the journey we're on. This is what we're trying to achieve. We want to make a name for ourselves in the industry for the right reasons, and we want the brand to be around for far longer than anyone who's currently in the business, that outlives us. And so I think it's about communicating that openly and honestly and authentically rather than keeping it all in, which is what used to happen years ago. You never used to tell people what your goals were and what your missions were, what your values were. Now actually it's all out in the open. I think that does make a difference because you bring people on that journey who want to see you succeed and want to be a small part of that journey and that success.
Now that it has changed for you and your brother, what have you guys learned from your initial interaction with the family business that you would do differently or the same when bringing on the next generation?
More open, frank, honest conversations when they need to happen rather than keeping it bottled up. I think that happens a lot in family businesses. People keep things bottled up. You don't want to upset the apple cart. As you say, it's not just a 9 till 5, Monday to Friday. It rolls into the evenings, the weekends. Yeah. And, if you're out at the weekend, you're going to be talking business if you're out with a family. And you don't want to have a bad feeling amongst people. So you keep it bottled up to the point at which actually it's got too much and then it spills out and it becomes such a much bigger thing than it possibly needed to. So I think just be open, honest and frank and have those conversations rather than keep them bottled up.
Yeah, it's when I first joined Cleenol, came in, loads of ideas, wanted to grow it, and there was just a conflict with my father and grandfather, and I actually got sent to the other location where our operations was, and basically got told to wait my turn, which was infuriating. But there's so much I learned from that, which I do completely different, and I love the fact that you've got this idea to drive the knowledge, the brand visibility forward. I think it's fantastic. Now, on your senior management team, you got your brother. Who else have you got? Non-family. Yeah,
so as directors, it's myself, my brother, and my parents each have a 1% share. Yeah. Then as our senior management team, we have our marketing manager, technical manager, trade account manager, and our HR manager.
Okay, how's the decision making process between you, your brother, and the senior management team dealt with?
So we have regular meetings. So we have quarterly meetings with the senior management team. So one of the key things is not to be a dictator, tell them how everything's got to be done and have all decisions have to run for you. So there's certain decisions they can make off their own back within certain parameters, and there's certain decisions you'll come down and sit down together and make a decision. And again, it's all about that conversation. It's about, right, this is my idea, this is what I'm thinking, we should do things this way, but listen to the bigger party, because I've got people involved in my business on a day-to-day basis at HQ that know more than I do about HR, that know more marketing and trade. So I'm going to listen to them, and we're going to make an informed decision that's best for the business moving forward.
Just in terms of brand, it's really interesting. So you're a Suffolk-based or Suffolk headquartered business, but you operate all over the UK. Caribbean Blinds. When I last went to school and I got a degree in geography, the Caribbean wasn't in Suffolk. So tell me a little bit about the name, where the name came from.
So I've been told two different stories by my parents, depending how much they've had to drink. So the first was they weren't sure what to call the company when they started it back out in 87. So they started thinking of things around sun, outdoor living, lifestyle, etc. And back in the 80s, going on holiday to the Caribbean, I think Dominican Republic was the big thing to do then. That was sort of the goal. That was one story. The second, and I like this story, the second, but I don't think this is probably the real one, was didn't know what to call the company. My dad was blindfolded, map of the world, and the pin just happened to land bang in the middle of the Caribbean. Now, I'd love it if that is the truth. I think it's probably the former story rather than the latter story. I feel like if they did do the map one, it probably landed somewhere, I don't know, in the middle of Bognor Regis or somewhere, and it wouldn't have had quite the same ring. But we talked years ago when I took over the business about rebranding rather than Caribbean Blinds, just shortening it to CB or something like that. But actually, within our trade industry, we're really well known. All of our products are named after Caribbean islands. It's always a good talking point with clients. So we just kept it. We've refreshed the look of the brand though. So I would say we were bright green, blue, red, yellow colours, and which sort of tied in with the Caribbean. We're now black and silver to sort of tie in with our premium high-end quality products, but we've maintained that name because it's a bit of fun. We tied all the products in with it, and it's a really good talking point with customers, whether it's trade, retail, or anywhere in between.
Yeah, it's a fantastic story, and it's really nice to have a family business that's got some quirky history, one thing that holds it all together, and it's transcending the generation. So from that perspective, I think it's a really good story. It's a great brand. So
thank you.
It'd be interesting to know what the real story is, but I'm sure we'll never really know. As next gen, you and Brad were quite young when you took it over. Obviously, mum and dad stepped back almost from day once the deal was done. So you took control of a very successful business which you wanted to grow. If you think back to those early days, what were the first things that you as next gen got your teeth into? What did you change instantly, and what do you think needs to be done to make it work?
The first thing I changed, much to my mother's dissatisfaction, was in our reception area, which is now a showroom. There was this horrible wooden reception desk back from probably the 80s when the factory was built. That was as soon as the contract was signed, I had someone come and knock it out. That was the very first thing I'd done, because I used to walk in every day and think, this is not us as a brand. It's old, it's dated, it doesn't say the right thing about us. But the first thing we've done was looked at every area of the business and where we needed to make investments. So one thing we hadn't done for a number of years was invest in new machinery. So we updated all the machinery almost instantaneously. So rather than tape measuring profiles to cut them to size, it was all now automated. So you put the measurements into a machine and it would cut them to millimeter precision. That instantly made the team happier who were working with them, because less mistakes, less hassle, and it improved our efficiencies, etc. So we looked inwards at the business where we needed to invest. The first year actually of taking over was about investing in the business to make sure all our processes were right. So from our software to our cutting equipment, etc. Also the team as well. We had a number of team that had been with us a number of years, and up until that point we hadn't really done much with our team in terms of engaging, like what we're doing, where we're going, etc. Again, because my parents were more behind closed doors about what they were doing with the business. So we engaged the team, got their feedback, put in place some team building initiatives, additional team incentives, etc., which made us a better place to work. Even feeding back through completed installation images to our team. They'd say, we're building the products, we don't get to see the end result. So making sure they all fed back through to the team as well, and didn't just get through to the office, they got through to the factory and the installation teams that were all playing a pivotal role in us delivering high quality products. So that was sort of the year one. Year two, we also put in a show site, our head office. So we hadn't got a showroom or a show site. So we put in some of our outdoor pergolas in phase one of our show gardens. So we'd invite clients to come along, see the products, but also see the premises. So that was really the initial stage, was investing in the business. Then it was about marketing the business out. So we'd done the brand refresh also at day one, and then it was starting to market out to our different target audiences.
And you've done that continuing. Even today, you're investing. You've just extended the warehouse.
Yeah.
You've refurbished the warehouse. There's show gardens. You're constantly innovating, aren't you? And constantly investing in the business.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer that if you stand still, someone will take over you. And I've got a sign right by my front door that says, what does it say? Success is never owned, it's rented. The rent is owed every day. And I look at it every morning and say, it's really easy to say, I've been successful, and then stop being successful because you just rest on your laurels.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about continually innovating and moving forward and listening to our customers, listening to the feedback and implementing it where it's relevant. So yeah, we put an extension on, we refurbished the existing building, we put in our Dream Garden show site. We've gone back to exhibitions this year in terms of consumer shows, and we're ramping them up next year as well. So I think because I'm fairly young, I'm like to say I'm still hungry. We're really I wanted to move the business forward and put it in a really good position for the future, because there's so much opportunity in our industry now as well, and I want to capitalize on it rather than think about it a lot and actually not do anything. I think that's also one of the benefits of a family business, is you can react really quick to things. You've not got a big board that you need to run decisions past that take months and months and months, and then when they do make a decision, you've missed your shot. We'll make a decision almost instantly. If it's a big decision that's going to require a lot of cash or whatever, it's a longer decision. But typically speaking, we can make a decision within 24 hours, within a few hours if we need to, and then we're on that journey and doing whatever we need to be doing.
Yeah. And that's really, I get that's the very essence of what family businesses are all about. You're also a manufacturer, so manufacturing in Britain over the years has been a topic of conversation, but obviously something that fills you with pride in terms of you're proud to be a manufacturer. You're proud to be a family business, but proud to be a family business manufacturer.
Yeah, definitely. I love the fact that we produce something from raw aluminium and fabric, and it turns into something that's on the back of a property, on a restaurant, on a hotel, and it's genuinely enhancing a lifestyle. And I love that about what we do. And I've always thought about, if I wasn't in this business, would I go into a services business? And probably not. I'm a product person. I love seeing that end result, and I love also seeing the satisfaction it gives our team, especially when we do some of these bigger commercial projects where there's hundreds upon hundreds of guests going in there every day, knowing that we've produced that, we've made that possible for people to sit outside in all seasons, enjoy a glass of wine, some great food, great company, whatever it may be. So there's a real sense of pride there, making it here as well, rather than just importing a product, which is so often done in our industry and across a number of industries. There's another element there. We can react quicker, better quality control, employ people within the UK and our local county of Suffolk, and these are all things that make me proud. I love it when we bring on more people, because we're getting busier, we've got more products to produce, we employ more people. It's just a really nice round circle, round economy.
You said that once you had children, your purpose changed and the business changed from a little shorter term view to a longer term view. What about your work-life balance and the business's work-life balance? How did having children change for you in that?
Tough. Because there's a bit of me that wants to work, literally. I would be happy sitting up with a laptop till 1 a.m. in the morning, getting up again at 4 a.m., but it's just not practical anymore. So I'm guessing I'm working smarter now, making sure I make time for the family. My partner would definitely say I don't make enough time, but I do make more time than I used to. But I think it's about prioritizing. I was never a good prioritizer before. I'd go into the day, I wouldn't have a to-do list. I just know what I've got to do in my head. Now, actually, I've created a to-do list, so I know, right, between this and this hour, I've got to do this. This is time I'm doing this. This is family time. This is time when I can wrap up for the day. This is my unwind time. And this is my sleep period as well. So I do need some sleep. I'm not getting any younger. So I think prioritizing has been the key to having children.
Does it help having your brother in the business? As you said, you dovetailed through the tricky time. Do you dovetail now a little bit more?
Yeah, I think having him in the business, and he's got kids as well, and he had kids before I had kids. So he's been through that hurdle. I know there's someone always at the factory who I can rely on. I've not got to worry about. Also, I know if I'm snowed under, he can pick up the slack, and vice versa as well. So yeah, I think definitely having my brother involved in the business makes a massive difference on a day-to-day basis, whether it's daily operations or just helping pick up the slack when I'm feeling the pressure, or vice versa.
And growing up, did you guys have a stronger relationship as you have now?
We have a stronger relationship now than we did growing up.
Oh, really?
We had a good relationship growing up,
yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but I think our relationship now, I think because when you're growing up, your brothers, your best friends, and we still are that, and I'd do anything for my brother, but also I now have respect for him as a businessman, I'd say an entrepreneur as well. So I think the respect changes as you grow up. It's a more rounded respect now, whereas before it was brother and friend, now it's brother, friend, business partner.
I think it's really interesting because I don't think when you say, oh, brothers are your best friends, I don't think that's always true
Yeah, I'd
with,
agree.
with every family. And I find that a really interesting dynamic because I think a lot of family businesses, that will have, I think I always talk about conflict resolution. I think if you've got a really strong family unit outside,
Yeah.
then coming in and dealing with major business decisions can be dealt with so much better because you've had all the practice beforehand. And I think that's credit to you and your brother, and probably why you managed to get to the resolution with the purchase of the business that you had. Is testament to the strength of your relationship that you both have. I mean, how do you guys work on that? Do you have a time where you go, right, well, we've spent all week together, we've dealt with all of this, Sunday roast, we're parking it this week? Or is it the opposite? Just, you know what, it is just this best friends, and we are going to spend all the time together?
So I live in London, my brother lives in Suffolk near the factory. So we don't actually see much of each other outside of work. But we will be texting each other, messaging each other, but it's always about work related. He knows I'm there if he ever needs me, and vice versa. But yeah, I wouldn't say the relationship's changed in that sense. It's more of the same. It's just there's a newfound respect for each other, I think. And especially as we've grown the business and we've gone through challenges growing the business. We've gone through the pandemic, which had its upside for our business, but also stresses for the business. And then last year you had the cost of living crisis, which threw another whole spin on demand for our products, and the cost of purchasing raw materials and energy prices and everything else. So we've gone through those highs, we've gone through those lows, and we've come out the other side in both. I think once you've done that, and especially done it more than once, you know you're always there for each other. You've got each other's back, even if you're not going out for a Sunday roast or you can't spend as much time outside of work together. And I know if we did, we'd just talk about work anyway. I think we are just very switched on, but I think we're at that stage in our life that may change as we get older. We may take time to switch off with each other and go out with each other's families and do stuff that's non-work related. But I think, mid to late 30s, we're just very zoned in, very obsessed almost. I wouldn't say completely obsessed, but very obsessed in the business and growing it and making it something special.
And you've won lots of awards over the last few years in terms of what you're doing for manufacturing and also the business awards and things. Your parents have kind of almost achieved that perfect solution in terms of everyone wants to be fair and equal to their kids. And here we see two sons working together, having bought the business together and working and building it successfully post that transition. So they must be incredibly proud, and the fact that they haven't got one in or one out or had to make some difficult decisions. It's kind of been a kind of a fait accompli for them as parents that their two sons have come in, worked really well together, and are driving something that they created so they can see their legacy continue.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you're right. It's not one in, one out. We've both been involved in business from straight out of school or college in my instance. So there's never been that sort of issue. And I think, they would be proud. I mean, I have a strange relationship with my parents, but I do think they look at the business. They're not involved in the business at all, but I do think they look at the business and they are proud of where that business is. We've done things that they probably didn't think we would do. They've seen the business grow to a completely another level than when they were involved in the business. And at the end of the day, we're a gatekeeper for the business. It's my parents' business. I still look at it. We might be the main shareholders, but my parents started the business, they founded the business. We're just taking it through the next 30, 40 years. And then hopefully it's onto our kids after that. My sons are too young to even think about it at the moment. But I'd love it if they joined the business and they carried the name on through.
That's an interesting dynamic, the gatekeeper and role. And I don't know, when I first heard that, I was sitting here going, I disagree. I think right now, what they built, and this is what hopefully we discuss over this podcast and lots of other podcasts, is they did build something, but they built something that was for them at the time in the market, in the world that it needed. But what you have done, take your first day, you saw, and it's so funny because my first day I pretty much did the same thing. The biggest room in the building was reception. I was like, and we're having meetings and everyone's still up in this tight little meeting. The first thing I did was I changed the reception into the meeting room. It's just amazing. But you are now the gatekeeper. It is now yours that you are doing. And there's a great book, Legacy, by James Kerr, and he talks about leaving the shirt in a better place, but it's still your shirt right now. It is, you are wearing that number and you are developing, and it's very much you and your brother, and you have taken what they did, yes, but it's you guys that are now taking it forward.
The only flip side I'd say is that they laid the foundations. They instilled everything into myself and my brother in terms of the way you run a business, ethics, reliability, all of those key things that enable us to go on and grow that business. So yes, we are developing the business. We're doing things they didn't do in the current climate, the current marketplace, but they they created my brother and I. They made us who we are today, and the reason the business is where it is now is because of all those things.
Yeah.
Do you remember growing up? And what do you remember in this? What are the memories that you have of growing up in terms of how your parents were, what they did, and how that's rubbed off on you? What do you remember from
My
those
parents
early days?
were workhorses, always working. We never had a summer holiday. I always remember we always used to go away at Christmas. So Christmas is always our quiet time of the year. No one really thinks about outdoor shading or outdoor living in the middle of winter. So my parents were always, all right, 2 weeks over Christmas. That's our holiday. That's our only holiday the whole year. School summer holidays was in the factory, helping sweep up when we were a bit older. When we were younger, it was sitting in the offices, playing on the old Amstrad computer, which you couldn't really do anything on. So it was always work. And they sort of instilled that work ethic into us. But we'd always look forward to that holiday at the end of the year. And it was always a holiday to the Caribbean as well, oddly enough, being Caribbean blind. And that was, we'd always look forward to that because we knew our friends were always at home over Christmas. So they might have good summer holidays going off to various camps and doing stuff. But we'd always go on this amazing trip over Christmas, 2 weeks in the Caribbean, whether it's on the cruise or just stuck at an island somewhere. I say stuck as if it's a bad thing,
Exactly.
a great thing. So we'd have an amazing holiday, but a really poor summer, I guess you could look at it. But then as we got a bit older, we'd also learn during the summer. So we'd learn a bit about the business. We'd get involved in it. We'd earn a little bit of money in our back pockets. And certainly as you get into your teens, having some money versus your friends not having money, I mean, you can go out and spend it on rubbish, but they've got nothing to spend. That was also a good thing because you learn the value of hard work. Growing up, I remember a lot about the business. I remember some of the highs, some of the lows, some of the difficult decisions my parents had to make, some of the arguments about why this was done, it should have been done this way, and it wasn't, those sort of things. But I always used to remember the positives out of it, which was there was an amazing holiday at the end of the year.
You are all about hard work and working, and I can see that in everything you say, and clearly from your parents, everything. What do you do for fun? Where does fun come from for you?
Please don't mention a gym. Whatever you do,
Fun.
whatever you really do, don't mention a gym.
Love a gym.
For me,
Or a nice
oddly enough, fun for me is the gym. That is my way to unwind. Literally, I can go to the gym I can go for the gym 3 hours actually sometimes. But it's my way of completely unwinding. I don't get tied up in work. I'm focused. If I'm lifting weights, I can't be thinking about the next business deal or the next this or that. It's focused on what I'm doing. So it's time when I can truly unwind, reset, get level-headed again, and then go back into the world. And I feel so much better for doing it as well. Having a family is obviously spending time with my kids. For me, seeing my kids happy makes me happy. At the weekend, I was out with my son, both of my sons, and my 2.5-year-old, he's running around spotting snakes. He thought he saw it. It wasn't a snake, it was just a bit of cable. But he was just spotting things and enjoying himself. And that just made me happy. And that just, for me, that's the best thing in the world now. And that's changed, obviously, since having kids. But for me personally, it's going to the gym, that 2 hour, sometimes 3 hour session, just resetting, feeling good as well afterwards. That is my idea of fun. My partner will tell me off for saying that, but she'll be like, why can't we do more stuff together? But I'm very focused, a bit obsessed, I'd say. I am planning going away next year with her. She told me off for not going away for a couple of years. So we will do something big next year. But yeah, gym is my get out of jail free card, my reset, unwind, feel better about myself and move on.
How important is it to find time to unwind?
Massively. It's got to play a part in the day. It's got to, because if you don't, you burn out, you feel bad. I won't say you make the wrong decisions, you take longer to make decisions, you deliberate about stuff, you question yourself, whereas just doing that hour, even an hour and 45 minutes, even half an hour, it just helps, just say for me, it helps reset myself, and then I can go back to it. But you do need to make time for yourself, even if it's only half an hour, 45 minutes, because if I'm all work, it's, especially as you get older, you feel it more. I can't do late evenings and early mornings anymore. It's got to be one or the other. So you do need to make time for yourself to reset, to be able to go again, and also give the employees the support they need rather than coming in but not being fully there.
Where do you get the desire to be the best version of yourself from?
Best version, where do I get the desire? My parents' work ethos, I think it is. They always wanted to be the best in the industry. And I think that it stems from that. I've just taken it a bit further in terms of with my fitness as well. So I've put that into my work, but also into myself personally, because it's the one things with my parents, and I still to this day, I wish they would do more to look after themselves, is they were very much into working, holidays. They were heavy smokers. They don't smoke as much anymore, but they never took health as important as I do, and I wish they would take it more important than they even do at the moment. So I think that's one of the things that I do differently to them, and I'm not even sure where that stems from. I think a lot of it stems from the world of social media, actually. Seeing people on their journeys on social media, and certainly as I've got more involved in it, I've realized that healthy body, healthy mind, I make better work decisions, etc., and it's now a part of my everyday life.
Last question on wellness, I promise. What do you do to take, you know how it impacts you, you know how important it is to you. How do you take that to the business and get the rest of the business to try and understand how important it is, wellness as a value within themselves?
Yeah, so we have a number of employee incentives, and one of them is like a wellness program. So for everything from sports therapy, gym memberships, all discounted. And a lot of our team are into fitness, health and wellness, which is great. But to be fair, if I'm in the office, I'm always talking to the team about it. I had someone recently had sciatica, and I was like, just go and see the acupuncture. It's covered in your membership. Go, and it will make such a world of difference instantly. So I think just by being there, talking to them about it, in every team meeting, we'll go through all the employee incentives, including the wellness one. And you can guarantee whenever I'm in the office, there will be a good half an hour spell of me talking to the team about what I've been doing fitness-wise, or comparing myself with some of the other team, what they're doing as well. So I think it's just talking about it to the team. And I also like to let them know a bit about my life, not too much. I do like to keep myself a little bit private, but also letting them know what I do outside of work other than just work, just so they understand how my life is, and what I sort of to a degree expect from them, and also what they should be doing as well to help them, because no one wants to lead to burnout. Everyone wants to feel good about themselves, and if it's something that I'm doing that makes me feel good, I want to share it with them, because hopefully they start doing it. If they're not already doing it, they'll feel good as well, or if that doesn't work for them, they'll find something else that does. You
see how much you care about your staff there.
Yeah,
it's the first time I've really we're broken you down. We got it, and you can see how much you guys care. And I think part of what's amazing about Paul's community that it has and the family business is we really do care. We really care about our staff, to the point that you're sharing, you're helping, you're talking to the wellness. The benefits that they are getting is not just going to impact that they work. It's actually, it's almost like we don't care the 9 to 5. It's if we can get you healthy, happy outside of the 9 to 5 stuff, then the 9 to 5 part is really going to benefit. It will naturally happen from that.
It's a win-win as well.
Yeah, really is.
I think all family businesses like that. It's an extended family. All the employees are part of the family, and you want them to be the best version of themselves. It benefits the business. It benefits them. They're proud. They're proud of where they work. They're proud to say they work for you. So I think it does. It's a win-win for everyone involved.
As you've grown, you've taken on more staff. Does it ever feel like a bit of a burden of responsibility, what you've created? And the success is great, and it's creating a successful business, but with that it grows, which means more people in your extended family, more families and their mortgages. And do you ever feel the pressure of what you've created?
Sometimes. I think when times are hard, you feel the pressure. Last year was an interesting year because of the cost of living, so that affected demand for us. Also, because of energy prices, it meant our prices skyrocketed in terms of raw material costs and so on and so forth. So, every now and then it sort of really hits home that it's my responsibility, my brother and I's responsibility to make sure that the team are paid. So they put in food on the table for them and their kids. And most of our team have got kids as well, and they're in similar position to myself, my brother, in terms of with children and so on and so forth. So sometimes, it suddenly dawns upon you. But that's also a motivator. It's a driver to go, right, we're going to keep moving forward. We're going to take calculated risks to grow the business. If something doesn't work, we're not going to get upset about it and dwell on it. We're going to move forward, because you've got to take the risks, as long as they're calculated and not silly risks. Sometimes every now and then, probably once every 3 months, once a quarter, something big dwells on me like that or something else. But so I try and turn it into a positive and use it as a motivator. But as you grow and you employ more people, there's more responsibilities. There's more food you're putting on the table, more people relying on you, to make the right decisions as well.
Yeah. And what's your proudest achievement today?
Today, being 8 years on from when I bought the business, where it is now. We've grown the business. It's 6 times the size it was when we bought the business. So growing the business, but honestly, it's actually employing everyone every single day and growing our number of employees. I love it when my HR says we've employed this new person. It's a really good feeling, because the business is growing, it's evolving. You put another person into the team who's hopefully going to be with you in the long term as well. I've got people that have been with me a few years after I started in the business. So they sort of started around 2004-5 time, and they're still in the business now. And they'll talk to me like their best friend. So it's really good. You're bringing them on the journey. It's not just they're here for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. They're here for the next 20, 25 years, hopefully.
And recruitment is a big challenge for lots of family businesses. How do you recruit? Because you've got quite a unique culture. You're very driven. Brad's very driven. You've got a goal. You've grown, as you said, 6 times bigger now than you were 8 years ago. So phenomenal growth over that period of time. You're incredibly driven as a work ethic. Do you tell the family business story as part of the recruitment drive? How do you recruit in terms of making sure they fit your culture? How does that all balance out so you get the right people to do what you need?
So we changed the way we recruited about 2.5 years ago. So we'd always try and find cross-transferable skills, so people from the window and door industry, carpenters, and so on and so forth. And we've realized as we were growing, it was affecting the culture, because the existing team were sort of, I wouldn't say upset, but disjointed with the people that have been brought in the business, because they didn't really fit the family mold or the culture that we created. So we changed it to hiring an attitude. So really, when someone comes in, we can teach them all the skills we need to teach. We want someone to come into the business or at interview, and my brother or myself will always be in interview along with our HR. But we want someone who comes in and the first question is, what do you know about the company? And I can tell you straight away whether they'll get the job or not. Because if someone says, I know this, you won this award there, and you do this X, Y, and Z, they've got the right attitude. If they come in and tell me more than I expected, or stuff that I don't even remember from many years ago, which has happened in one instance, even better so. But if they can't answer that first question, they're probably not going to be hired, because they haven't looked into the business. And I like them to show a bit of passion about what they're talking about. I'm not expecting them to be as excited about the business or the products as my brother and I am, but I want them to like what we do, because if they can like what we do and understand what we do, we can teach them all the skills to build the products, install the products, quote customers, or whatever it may be. But I can't teach them that enjoyment from what we do.
You joined the business 2001?
2001, yeah.
So what advice would you give to yourself in 2001, having experienced the journey you have done so far?
Don't join the business. Go off and do what you're going to do. Then come back into the business, because then you won't have that one question mark in the back of your mind, a little bit of regret. What if I'd done this? Could I have enjoyed this and learned something else, and then come into the business at a later stage when my parents are looking at retiring? So don't get caught up in the positives of the family business, which for me were that amazing holiday every year. Go off, if you in your head, go off and do something else, then come back into the business, just so you've experienced the whole world or a bit of the world rather than just one element of it.
And it's great. We had to have 6 years experience outside the business before we could join. And I took the 6 years experience and I didn't want to join. So
which is always the challenge.
Which is always the challenge.
But I think that's good advice, because I think you need to go off and do that. And you find your true self then, and you don't have that question mark. So I still have this question mark in the back of my mind. And every now and then it rears its ugly head. And it's always when it's a bad day and you're like, why didn't I just go off and do that and try it and see if I enjoyed it?
That's really interesting though, isn't it, Stuart? Because you're incredibly successful. You've grown an incredibly successful business your parents created, but you've grown it and made it even more successful. But yet you still have that nagging doubt.
Yeah. But I think everyone has doubts. You have doubts about the business deal that you didn't do, or the product you didn't bring in or invest in, whatever it may be. And that's probably my one doubt that I wish and I'll never be able to go back and do that. Everything else, I can bring in more products, I can do other business deals, but I can't go back in time and go off and do what I was planning on doing. I'll never be able to do that.
No, that's incredibly honest.
Yeah, it's pretty honest. Do you not think you can still do it now?
I can't do that. I can go off and go to uni and study law and
ignore the piss ups and the parties. Yeah. You're past that anyway, and that would impact your training schedule anyway. But the legal course, the understanding of the law, is there not something where, the world that we live in now, can we not look at sabbaticals for people, and can we not set the example ourselves? I mean, I'm just shooting from the hip.
It's a fair point, but I think I'm now so invested in the business. If I did that, I'd have a question mark that I'm failing my business and failing my team.
You just replace the question mark.
Yeah.
The itch would change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It would change. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. On that, what is going to be your legacy?
My legacy? Such a good question. Such a hard answer.
It's a good question.
It's a really good question. It's a very good question.
Thank you.
So my legacy is being I want to be remembered in my industry for being a game changer in the industry. For someone who was doing the right things to drive the industry forward and shape. I want to be remembered as someone who shaped the industry for the future. We just put in place this new mantra, driving the industry forward, shaping it for the future. So I want to be remembered within my industry, my legacy, as someone who shaped the industry for the future.
And I'm sure undoubtedly you'll do that in the years to come. So the journey's already been amazing. You've been listening to Stuart Dantzic, Managing Director of Caribbean Blinds, on Legacy, the Family Business podcast. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, Stuart. Thank you for your insights. Join us next time for more insights from family business owners from across the UK on Legacy, the Family Business podcast.
What is going to be your legacy?